You are listening to Pivot Parenting, episode 214, Strengthening Your Mom Network with Jody Moore. Welcome to Pivot Parenting, the place where we recognize when your parental role needs to shift and how to do it. I'm your host and parenting expert, Heather Frazier. Loneliness is a common thread for all humanity, feeling alone, being lonely. And I don't think that in and of itself it's a problem. It's very natural and very human to have moments or episodes of lonely. But when being isolated and alone in our struggles is negatively impacting our mental health, our ability to function as a parent, it becomes a problem. Now, loneliness can feel safe, and I get that. In my book, How I Fixed My Teen, I rip the Band-Aid off of that safety blanket of feeling alone in my struggle. I have journal entries. I share my most deep, intimate hurts, wounds, struggles, thoughts around them. And one of the most common things that I hear from people who have read it or listened to it is that they finally feel seen. It can sound like, are you in my head? Have you been following me around? It's like we share the same life. You see me. These are the things that I'm hearing. It can feel so relieving to know that you aren't the only one. This is why Jody and I are talking about strengthening your mom network today. Because it is important for you to have a network. It doesn't mean that you have to text all day, every day, or you do, whatever works. But we need each other. Jody, after having her first two kids, struggled with a work-life balance, embracing motherhood, and liking herself. That's pretty relatable. As an active member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, she felt guilty for not loving the role of mother and wife and turned to life coaching for help. The transformation she experienced not only helped her at work and home, it strengthened her testimony of Christ, leading her to dive into learning the tools of coaching and leave her position as a corporate leadership coach to launch her own coaching practice. Jody is certified through the Life Coach School, as am I, and completed Master Coach certification in 2018. Today, as an LDS life coach, Jody has helped tens of thousands of people through her top-rated podcast, Better Than Happy, as well as her coaching membership program, Be Bold. She has 4 kids, aged 7 to 17, and resides in Spokane with her husband, their French bulldog Finn, mini Cavapoo Milo, and cat Oscar. And I have put all of her contact points in the show notes. And I just want to mention the reason why I'm having her on, besides the fact that I absolutely love her wisdom and what she does in the world, is that I mentioned her in my book. It was me reaching out to a friend that I became introduced to her work, and my life changed exponentially, infinitely for the better because of my mom network. And that is what I want for you. If you haven't read my book or you haven't listened to it, it's now available on Audible as well. You can get it at my website. You can get it at Barnes & Noble, Walmart.com, Amazon, and Audible, and it's on Kindle. I highly recommend you getting my book. It's still doing great as a bestseller. I promise you will not feel alone after you have read or listened to it. All right, here is my conversation with Jody Moore. All right, today we've got Jody Moore with us. Welcome, Jody.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, of course I know and love you, but maybe my audience hasn't heard of you. So Jody was the person that introduced me to coaching, my friends. And I mentioned her in my book, How I Fixed My Teen. I actually I have an entire chapter dedicated to me finding Jody, and it's
Mm.
called My Friend Finally Gets Through to Me.
Yes.
And this was way back when I didn't even know what a podcast was, and podcasts make a difference, or they
Yeah.
can.
I love podcasts.
Seriously, me too.
Yeah.
Give me a walk in a podcast, and I'm just happy as a clam.
Me too. Love it.
Yeah. So in this chapter, I talk about essentially, I had some ladies that I would walk with, and we walk and talk, right, as women.
Mm-hmm.
And if we feel safe, we share what is heavy on our hearts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really blessed with really great friends. So we share a lot of heavy. And so I wanted to know your thoughts around women needing each other. I've listened to you coach a lot, and I know that this is a common topic. So I want your expertise.
Well, expertise is a scary word. I don't know that I'm an expert in it, but yeah, I've been coaching about 10 years now, mostly women. And I think, one of the things I end up coaching a lot on is marriage, the marriage relationship, or whatever is your primary relationship.
Yep.
And I do think that we traditionally have put too much responsibility and pressure on the marriage relationship and expect it. And maybe it's from growing up with like Disney movies or whatever, thinking like, then you meet the man and then you feel complete and fulfilled. But I think that the marriage can't handle the weight of all of our needs. And that's where friendship, mainly girlfriends, right, come in is like, I don't know, if you have a husband that likes to discuss the same topics you want to discuss, great, but you may not. Your husband may not be interested in the same things you're interested in,
Yeah.
but your girlfriends probably are. And I don't know, I just find that for most women, the majority of our needs get fulfilled through friendships with other women, not all of them, but the majority of them. And then it frees you to be a complete whole person and bring that person to your marriage instead of a needy person. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I like that take. I can see that. I love feelings as a coach and talking
Mhm.
about our internal experiences, and my that's not really my husband's jam.
Right.
And so
Same
I get a
here.
lot of that from women, and it's a
Right.
beautiful thing.
That's right. I mean, we're attracted to our opposite,
Yes.
right? And so it makes sense that you're going to find yourself at one point being, and I didn't get, I was 30 when I got married. And so I lived with girlfriends a long time before that. And I remember having this kind of startling realization of like, wait a second, I'm used to living with people who want to read magazines and watch certain TV shows and
Yeah.
live a certain lifestyle, and my husband doesn't want to read the magazines with me, no, nor would I even want him to.
Yeah.
And there was kind of this void all of a sudden, and while I was happy to be married and he's great, I realized like I really felt this shift because I had lived with women, girlfriends for so long. So yeah, I think it is super and just such a fun part of life too.
Yeah, I
Having
agree. And
friends.
it's nice, like my friend, she actually had to say, "Give me your phone." And she showed me where podcasts were, and she searched,
Mhm.
I can't remember what it was called then.
Yeah,
I think
me
it was
neither. It's
Better Than
been through so
Happy.
many names.
Yeah, which is fun too.
But it's
And
better than happy now. Yeah.
yeah, and she showed it to me, and then I just
Mhm.
went down the rabbit hole entirely.
Oh, that's awesome.
And yeah, and I think emotional needs are good, but we also can receive mentoring and like advice. And what's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I find personally anyway that sometimes I will hear it better from one of my girlfriends than I would from, I don't know, my spouse or a family member or something like
Sure.
that, right? Like when you talk about your friend taking your phone and loading a podcast and being like, just listen to this. Like, there are other people who I value who, if they did that, I'd be like, okay, don't tell me what to do. Or, like it's just
True.
different. Now, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, but I think that having friends like that, like you just described, someone who can tell you the truth, right? Like we have to break past the small talk, which is natural in the beginning, small talk and polite
Yeah.
chit chat and whatever, to get to the point that you're describing of a friend that, like you said, you feel safe enough with to share and open up, but also who will tell you the truth when you need to hear it, even if it's not always easy to hear. And I find that that is hard to create, right? Like if you move to a new area or something and you haven't known these people, then
Yeah.
we don't have the time together because we are busy with our lives and our families. And it takes like a combination of time and conscious effort to get to that point where you can be more real with each other.
I completely agree. And that's one of the questions that I wanted to talk about is ways to create that friend group if you feel like you're lacking. For
Mhm.
me personally, I need like two or three of those women in my life.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm the same. Um, yeah, I mean, I've coached a lot of women who struggle with a couple things. One, I coach frequently on, okay, I set things up, I invite people, I make plans, and nobody seems to reciprocate. They're not making plans, they're not inviting me. And then we have
Yeah.
drama around that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one thing to be cautious of. There are people who will go out of their way to plan things, and there are others who just won't for whatever reason. Like
I think it's a personality thing.
it might be,
I'm a
right?
planner.
And
I'm the planning
you are
friend.
the planner? Okay.
Yes. But
And
I
see,
don't
I'm
I don't
not.
get offended when other people don't plan. I just am
So
like, it's time for a lunch. I'm gonna text the ladies.
yeah, and let's go to lunch. Now, tell me because again, what I end up coaching on is like, why don't they plan something and invite me? And then they feel hurt by that. And they make it mean that if they really wanted to see them or this is a one-way friendship. So tell us, Heather, like why are you not offended by that?
I love you turning the tables because I like me.
Yeah,
And
that's huge.
I'm a fun time. So I'll plan things. I don't take it personally because I know that they're busy too. And I genuinely see it as I'm really assertive and very honest. Like what you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm.
And some people aren't that way.
Yeah.
They're afraid that people will say no. They're afraid they have their reasons for being the way that they are. And if I want to get together, I'm going to get together.
Yeah. And that's it, right? You nailed it. Like you have to be confident. You have to like yourself. So I love what you've identified there, which is like when we go to build a friend group and we talked about how valuable friendship is and how much we need each other, especially as women, but we have to be careful about thinking then that that's going to take the place of us filling our own buckets, if you will, right?
Yeah.
Like you have to come from a place of liking yourself, like you just said,
Well,
which is
and
work
those are the
to be
people
done.
that draw people in too.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's like obviously you can do things like you said, call people up, invite people, set things up. But I think that the work is really much more internal about connecting with yourself and learning to like yourself. And if for anybody listening to this that's like, well, that's great for Heather, but I don't like myself. You
Yeah.
can work on that. That's the work that we do as coaches, right? Is helping people learn to like themselves. It is something you can learn. It's a relationship you can develop. But I, I don't know. I see other women who there's drama,
Yeah.
right? Amongst their relationships sometimes. And I think you just have to be aware that no matter what, we're dealing with human beings.
Yeah. And we can
And
love
even
them and
relationships,
not participate in the drama.
yeah, and even relationships that might be easy and smooth can sometimes take a dramatic turn. And that, like you said, drama is created in our heads. And whether or not we choose to engage, even beginning in our minds with the drama or not, is a choice you get to make.
Yeah.
I have this friend who's got a bunch of daughters, and we talk a lot because we're close. And she was telling about, or I asked about one of her daughters because I was like, I never hear about this particular one. You don't talk about her much. And she's like, oh, because she's just so easygoing. Like she doesn't have challenges with this daughter, right? But then this was interesting. She said, but her friends, she has friends that are just nicer, less dramatic, easier girls than my other girls. And I was like, that's so interesting, right? Like,
Yeah.
because she started out by saying this daughter isn't dramatic, this daughter is very confident. She likes herself. And I was just wondering to myself, like, is that true? I'm sure there's some truth to it that maybe
Yeah.
she has friends that are
Correlation
more
versus
also more confident.
causation.
But yeah, but also, is it possible that the other daughters who are more insecure and struggle more are it's harder not to engage in the drama. It's harder not to take it personal. It's harder not to whatever if you don't have that connection with yourself.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I love that. And one thing that I see as a common source of drama, whether it's, in my personal experience or coaching, is the give take dynamic of like
Mhm.
keeping score. So that
Mm.
kind of goes in like I did the last 3 lunches, so it's somebody else's turn, or I'm sick and I took them dinner when they were sick and they are not even calling me to see how I'm doing.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on like the tit for tat scorekeeping friendship loss?
Well, two things. First of all, we have to be really careful about trying to turn other people into us.
Yeah.
And
I have a
yet,
friend who loves being on time and hates everybody that's late. And it's
yeah.
just
Like, listen, that's cool for you if you want to make that your thing, being on time, but you can't like everybody's not you, and everybody doesn't take dinner when someone's sick, and everyone doesn't plan lunches, and everyone like it's just, it, and we do this in our marriages, we do it with our friendships. Um, I love to remind myself when I'm doing it that when I do it with my husband in my mind, even that I'm like, what I'm saying is like, I love Jake, but it would be great if he were like a little more Jody-ish Jake,
if you could see
right?
things from my perspective just a little more.
Or I love Heather, but could she be like a little Jody-ish Heather? That would be
Yeah.
nice. Like, like what I would do is this. Why isn't she doing that? That's basically what I'm saying. Is
Yeah.
I wish she were a little bit more like me because that's what I would do. So you just have to notice that and be like, okay, that's interesting. Just because I would do that doesn't mean that she would or should, and manage yourself around that. But I also do think that when you clean up your judgment of it, then you can actually make requests and tell people what you want.
Yeah.
Like if I stop judging you for not bringing me dinner, then I could be like, Heather, you know what? I'm really sick, and it would be so helpful if someone could bring me dinner. I hate to put that on you, but do you think you would be able, like,
Yeah. Can
we
you
can
double dinner
ask,
tonight?
would you bring me dinner? I need dinner. Like, really, that's what the
Um,
best friendships are, is we can be honest with each other about both like, Heather, you got to listen to this podcast because you're struggling and this will help. Or would you bring me dinner? I really need dinner. Like,
yeah.
we can
Yeah.
be honest when we clean up our judgment. If I'm doing it from judgment, first of all, I either don't say it at all or I say it in a snarky way and then we just have drama. But if I just stop judging people as being wrong, I'm just like, probably didn't even occur to her. She doesn't normally do that. And I might say, it's okay if you pick up Cafe Rio because I know you don't like to cook. But like,
And Cafe Rio is
stop
delicious.
judging. You do like to cook?
I do like to cook. I also love Cafe Rio.
I love Cafe Rio.
No, another
Um,
aspect of this though too is when we don't want to show our vulnerability. And so we'll take the dinner, we'll do the things, but we can't receive.
right. Which is coming from a lack of confidence again.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, where's that coming from? So
Yeah.
lack of
I mean,
confidence.
I think, don't you?
Yes, I would say also like like ego,
Mm,
which if ego's at play, that is a lack of confidence.
yeah.
But like I'm the provider and everyone can be grateful to me instead of me
Right.
needing other people.
Right. Yeah. And yet, what's interesting is that I think that's true. I think in general, most of us would rather give and contribute than receive for the
Yeah.
most part. Not,
It
I
takes
can't say
humility
100%,
to
but
receive.
it takes humility to receive, but also, because in the LDS church, we do this thing called ministering where we're supposed to support and serve other people, right?
Yep.
And I had this thought recently because it feels a little awkward to me to be like, hey, I'm assigned, even though you wouldn't say it that way. We all know in the end, you were
We all know.
assigned to be my
Yeah.
friend, right?
Yes.
And there's ways to make it work and all that. I'm not saying it's not a good program. I'm just saying there's an awkwardness in the beginning of like, hey, I'm assigned to you, but I genuinely do want to get to know you and be your friend. And I was thinking it would be so much more natural if they just put us in small groups, even two of us, but it's like we're both meant to minister to each other, or four
That's
of
a
us or six of
fantastic
us. And it was
idea.
just like, hey, you guys like look out for each other. Then I could go on there and be like, hey, my name's Jody. This is what I'm good at. Does anyone need help with anything? And also I could be like, Heather, I know you're really good with teenagers and I'm struggling with my teen. Could we chat for a minute? Like we could actually give other people opportunities to serve and we could practice receiving.
Yeah.
And that's more natural, a give and take rather than just a one-sided, I'm here to help you. And if it's hard for you to receive help, it's hard for all of us. So,
Yeah.
anyway, my point is sometimes receiving can be a gift that you're giving the other person,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
right? Outside of just being vulnerable, but being like, she wants to take care of me this way. All right, I'm going to let her. And I
Yeah.
did just decide years ago, like when my kids were really little, and I have a mother in law who's really helpful. And she constantly was like, let me mop your floor, let me whatever. And I was like, no, 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 you don't have to do that. And finally I was like, wait, I would like that help. What if I just chose to believe people? If they offer to help, I can just believe that they mean it. And if I want the help, I just give myself permission to accept it. And that was a huge gift I gave myself.
It took me a long time to learn that one.
Yeah.
I do love to cook and I love to host, so I would have people over and I would never let them help clean up
Mm, yeah.
until more recently. And I still have to like bite my tongue as they're like wiping counters down and doing whatever. And in my brain, I'm picturing, like Downton Abbey or something. I'm like, I wish I just had staff that just did all that so we could have a nice
Right.
dinner and then go to the parlor.
Yeah.
But that's not the
Except
case.
that you do. You have friends who want to do it.
Yes, and it's so nice. Yeah.
I want to tell one other quick story. So I
Yeah.
had this friend years ago. I was living in California at the time, and she was moving from like one house to another or something, like just locally, right? And so, like a good friend, I said, oh, do you need any help with your move? Anything I can do to help? And I expect her to give the same answer we all do, which is like, no, I'm good. Thanks, though. And she goes,
She's like, yes.
yeah, actually, could you come one day this week, like either Thursday or Saturday, for 2 hours and just help me pack? And I was like, yeah.
That's
And we
awesome.
picked the day, and she's like, okay, be there at 10. And she had boxes and everything. And she would just be like, okay, go to that cupboard. I need you to pack that closet. It needs to go in these boxes in the label. And I was like, this is so amazing. Like she actually said yes. And then she told me what to do and she's just directing me. And I was like, why do we not do that?
Yeah. And I think honestly that it builds intimacy in relationships. You
Yes.
probably felt so valued and trusted by her that she
Yes.
would be honest and like let you help her and see her closet.
Yeah. It comes down to, again, being real. Like we
Yeah.
pretend we're like, no, I'm good. But it showed me the level of friendship we have where she knew she could be real with me and be like, yeah, I do need some help. Could you come and pack for 2 hours? And yeah, that she trusted me, that I can see the mess in her house. It's like so connecting. And that was the moment when I decided, all right, if people offer to help me, and I want the help, I'm going to let them. I'm done like pretending
Yeah.
that I don't need help.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I love that. Okay. Speaking of help,
Mhm.
when somebody, a friend, is struggling,
Mm.
and I know that as coaches, oftentimes like we just have our lens of like seeing kind of what's going on.
Mhm.
When do we crawl in the ditch and hold them, and when do we lower the ladder, and how do we
Mhm.
tell the difference?
Yeah. Um, I don't know how to tell the difference, so I usually will ask. Although sometimes it's obvious.
Yeah.
For me, I have two sisters who I'm really close to,
Mhm.
and they're both coaches too. And I can tell when one of them calls me and they're like, "Oh, I just got to get this off my chest for a minute." Like we'll say that to each other. And I do the same to them. Like, do you have a minute? I just need to vent for a second.
Yeah.
Um, but you can tell when somebody calls and they're like, I'm so pissed right now, or they're crying, or they're whatever, right? I know that they need a listening ear, or that's in most cases anyway. And they just
Yeah.
need validation, and they need to complain about their boss. And I go, what? He's a jerk. Let's go slash his tires. Like, I just validate and hear and acknowledge and go, I'm sorry, that's so hard. If I'm not sure, right? There's other times when maybe it's an ongoing thing, it's not an acute problem, they're not as emotional. And again, I'm the same. I rely on them. Then we ask each other. I say, do you want some help with this? Or do you just want me to listen? And I will tell them too, if necessary. I'll say, I just need to complain for a minute. I don't need ideas. So I
Yeah.
think that we have to get better at asking each other. And I'll do that with my other friends too, who aren't coaches. I'll say, do you just want me to listen right now, or do you want ideas? I have ideas, but also you may not need ideas right now, or you might not be ready for ideas. So I think we have to ask, honestly.
Yeah. No, that's really valuable. I've asked my sister so many times when she calls that she just starts with it. I just need you to listen or help me, please.
Yeah.
Um, but I look
I
at
default to that if I'm not sure.
yes,
If I'm
yes.
not sure, I just default to listening. I think
Yeah.
it's safer than defaulting to, well, you know what you could do,
Let me tell
or you
you.
could think about it this way. I think that's more dangerous than just defaulting to listening.
Which is what I, looking back, like pre-coaching, when I was so unaware of what I was doing in relationships, I think that seeing people upset or having a hard time is really uncomfortable. And we just want to like diminish or talk them out of it or like fix it
Yeah.
for them so that they are happy again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And for me, that's harder with my kids.
Yeah. Like
But
they did what to you? That boy said what?
yeah. Um, but yeah, I do think that there's something we sort of rob people of when we try to take away their pain too fast. And not only that, but it just doesn't work.
It
Right? Like you
doesn't.
try to take away someone's pain before they're ready, they just hold on tighter to it and they pull back on it. And then you end up helping them validate their own pain and their own, and like fight harder for it.
Yeah. Or
So
wrap shame
and it's
around it that like they shouldn't feel that way or
disconnecting to the relationship because it tells a part of us like, oh, that's not the person I should go to when I'm really struggling, because they're gonna, like, it feels like judgment sometimes, even though it's
yeah.
not. It's not usually coming from wanting love and wanting you to feel better. It feels judgmental when they're like, you know what you could try is this.
Yeah. Or
If
that's
you're
not
not
that big of a
ready.
deal. You should hear this.
Yeah. Or you could think about it in this way. You could be more positive. Like, it's coming
Yeah.
from a good place usually, but it feels like judgment to us on the receiving end. So I think that's why I've had enough experiences where I've done it
Haven't
wrong,
we all?
right? That I
Yep.
realized, okay, even with my kids,
Mm.
um, especially my teenagers who are a little older, it's a lot of like, I realize that they are better at knowing the way out of the pain than I am. And so if I just go, oh my gosh, that's hard. What do you think you're going to do? I had a friend who was depressed. Okay. And I was constantly trying to help her, and she wanted my help, but it just wasn't ever working. She was
Yeah.
getting worse. And I talked to another friend of mine one time who said, depression fights to stay alive, and it needs villains, but it also needs heroes. Depression says you're not able to do things on your own. You're not good enough. You're not worthy, and things aren't going to get better, basically. And so it looks for villains and reasons why things are hard, but it looks for heroes because it says you can't save yourself. You need someone else to save you. And so I realized every time I rush in and try to be the hero, I'm reinforcing the depression that says you can't figure this out on your own.
Mhm.
So now when that friend calls me struggling, I say, oh my gosh, that sounds so hard. I'm so sorry. What do you think you're going to do? And I do that with my kids too. What do you think you're going to do? Oh man. Well, what happens next? Instead of going, have you talked to your teacher? Have you sent them an email? I'll just go, What are you going to do? What are you thinking you're going to try? And I might ask, is there anything I can do to support you? Is there anything I can do to help you? But it's just way more, it shows them that we understand that they have the solution and the answer inside them.
Yeah. Yeah. Putting our children in the driver's seat is huge.
Yeah. And our friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the right way, but it seems to work better than
No, I love that.
I know
So
everything.
we've kind of talked about being judgy and shame and disconnection. So how do we become more empathetic with our kids and friends? And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, doing what we do with our friends is also we're doing that with our spouse and our kids. And
Of course.
you
Right.
learn a skill and it just shows up everywhere.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's, I think, the challenging part for people that probably have been like listening to you and have read your book and or me, and they know what we teach. It becomes difficult then not to see where other people are getting in their own way with the way they're thinking about
Yep.
things, right? And so then it can turn into judgment or whatever. So what I try to remember is I don't have to agree with their story, if you will, or the way they're thinking about things in order to really just validate. And I can be empathetic for the fact that they're a human being, that they're struggling and that they're creating, even if I know they're totally creating it and it's unnecessary. I can have empathy for that because I've done that and I still do that at times.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can
Right?
see exactly what I'm doing with my coach brain, but my nervous system is like,
Yeah.
like
It doesn't mean
yeah, it
it
just
doesn't
is.
mean we're not still humans and that we don't still do it. So that's why I can always get to empathy, and I don't have to like do what we call story fondling. Like it's not necessary. I gave the example earlier being like, what? He sounds like a jerk. We should slash his tires. But that's not always, sometimes I don't feel that way. Sometimes they're complaining about something, right? Especially my friends, right? Because we all have different ideas about the world and politics and whatever else. And if they're upset about something and they want to vent about something and I happen to totally disagree with it, then I don't want to be insincere and pretend, but I still have empathy for the fact that they're struggling and that they're frustrated and they have a strong opinion about this thing because I can relate to that for sure. So it's like, "Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry you feel that way. That's hard." And that's where in my mind anyway is I'm like, it's okay that they see it differently than I do. Um, but I can empathize with how they're feeling, with being a human and struggling.
Yeah. When we go back to that basic, we all have our humanity in common, it's a lot easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love how Pema Chodron teaches this. She has a strategy called Just Like Me. And especially when you're struggling, when there's conflict, right? Let's say you are disagreeing about something, she has you go through this exercise of just like me. So this person has strong opinions about this topic, just like me. This person is emotional about this topic, just like me. This person really thinks they're right about the way that things should go, just like me. Like,
Yeah.
we're all the same in the end. Yeah.
Yeah. Bringing humanity back to it, I think, is a huge piece. What
Yeah.
other attributes do you think come into strengthening our female friendships?
Wait, say that one more time. Sorry, they just.
No, you're good. What other attributes do you think pair nicely? I like to eat out. Pair nicely with building our network of women.
I think that curiosity, um, anything that gets your mind focused on the other people. Because I think for many of us, our default tendency, especially for meeting new people or we're trying to meet new people, is to be insecure, which means we're thinking about ourselves. What if they don't like me? Why did I say that? That sounded stupid. I shouldn't have worn this outfit. Right? It's all facing inward tends to trigger insecurity. So a quick hack, like we want to work on our relationship with ourselves. We want to work on liking ourselves, but you don't have to wait for that point. A quick hack is to redirect your mind to them. I wonder what they worry about. I wonder what they love. I wonder what they're really good at. I wonder what's amazing about them. I wonder what keeps them awake at night. I wonder, like, just being curious and wondering about other people. When you do that, you naturally will ask them questions about themselves, and you'll listen because you really want the answer. You'll listen better. You'll do more active listening. You'll be less in your own head, and it feels so much better. It's an just like an instant escape from insecurity. So I really like to encourage people who are trying to meet new friends, be curious. My we're getting ready to move back to California, actually,
Oh,
to San
wow.
Diego area. Yeah. And so as we like look at homes and look at neighborhoods and look at schools and look at churches and all of that stuff, like it's so overwhelming, and it's so like, are we going to find people here that we like? Are my kids going to do okay here? And it's anxiety producing for me.
Sure.
And what I have to do is go, I wonder if there's people in that area who need something we're going to be able to offer. I wonder, instead of being like, is my kid going to be okay at this school? I'm like, I wonder if there's a kid at that school who needs my kid as a friend. I wonder if, like, what are we going to be able to contribute? Who's there that might need us? What might that city or town or whatever need that we could contribute to? And it instantly minimizes the anxiety. Not that I don't still care about making sure my kids are okay, but it's so much easier to get to peace when you focus on others.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Any last tidbits, any wisdom, any
Oh
final
gosh.
thoughts?
Um, I just think that, and this kind of circles back to where we started. I think that, and there's all kinds of studies and research that show how important relationships are to us, actually, in terms of our longevity, our life experience as we age, especially. I think um, relationships matter, and it's easy for us as women, or I should say, it's tempting for us as women to put so much into everyone else that we neglect ourselves. And if this is an area that you've been neglecting, it's worth putting time into. It is not selfish. It is okay to be like, I have limitations on how many activities and things my kids can be in, because I'm like, you each get one thing outside of like school and church.
Yeah.
And because I also need time for me.
I got to spend every afternoon in the car.
And I'm not going to spend all my weekends at sporting events. Like,
Yeah.
so I am going to go out with friends. I had this period of time, again, when I lived in California previously, where there was a group of like 4 other women. We did a girls' night every Tuesday night.
That's
And
amazing.
every Tuesday, we usually went to dinner and a movie, and sometimes 2 movies in the theater. We'd be like, let's do a doubleheader, and we'd get home at 1 a.m. or something. And we all had kids at different ages. The women were at different ages, but we just every Tuesday night for months until I moved away. And I look back on that time as like, I was going through a lot at the time, actually, personally, and they don't even know, really. I didn't share with them what I was going through, but we all were going through a lot, and it was like our saving grace. And I just think we need to spend more time cultivating those connections. And so I would just say, everyone do it. It's worth it.
Yeah. A lot of people think that completely losing our identity and sense of self is a badge of honor to be worn, but I think it causes more harm than good.
Heather is the one, an expert in the field. She knows her parenting stuff, including how confusing it can be. You've tried it all, and it's a lost cause. Crying in the closet 'cause you failed.